Unless you've been living underground, I'm sure you've noticed that a lot of people are talking about Fallout this year. After the surprisingly great Fallout TV show, Bethesda are showing a bit of love to Fallout 76, the lesser loved child of the Fallout franchise, I think it's fair to say, with their new expansion, Skyline Valley. Joining me from his underground complex north of London is Dave Jewett, who's only gone and bloody played the thing.
I have, yeah. I got a few hours with 76. It was a little odd because I had not played 76 in years, other than the Firearms Expert Reacts episode we did. So Skyline Valley is expanding the map south, but the size of the expansion, they said it was bigger than Steel Dawn and Steel Rain combined, and that was the two big story beats that started to introduce the Brother of Steel. There was a lot of content there. The first thing that you're going to see, in the town nearest to Vault 76, you're going to come across the vault door of Vault 63, which is basically blown up, sent sky high, and then landed nearby in familiar ground. So you venture south to Vault 63, and there it's the whole area is very hellish, very red, very intense. There's this big storm that's been going on, and you've got to sort of navigate through that storm to get to Vault 63. And as you enter that vault, that's where the story content of Skyline Valley really kicks off, and it's very ghoul centric. Vault 63 is entirely inhabited by ghouls. But it's kind of odd because when you step into the vault's very clean, very well kept, very pristine, but everyone in there is a ghoul, and that sort of contrasts with what we expect from ghouls in the rest of the franchise. We're used to seeing them in the Wasteland or in, Megaton, where it's not exactly clean and nice, but I think they're really trying to further humanize the ghouls, and that's something that's sort of been toyed with in previous games, but it's as if these people didn't even know they were ghouls. There wasn't like a sort of word for it yet, almost. But as you enter, you meet this ghoul called Hugo Stoltz, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but that character in itself has some potentially very interesting connections to the wider Fallout lore, as well as the Vault-Tec story. I only got to play the first few hours of it, but the general vibe is that this huge electric storm has started to affect this area of the wasteland, and it's about trying to either harness that or fight through it to create a better environment for the ghouls of Vault 63. But the main enemy you'll find are a set of ghouls called the Lost, and it's kind of leaning into some sort of horror vibes. They're ghouls that have been affected by this electrical storm in some way. They've got, blue lightning through their skin and their body, and they're all sort of talking to some disembodied person that you can't see. They're saying some really bizarre things, which again you're not used to seeing with ghouls. So there's another sort of ghoul type that we're starting to see, and then of course the expansion will come with other elements that we're used to. There's new weapons, new enemies, new items, new ways to develop your camp. It's very interesting to see not only the amount of content they're bringing, but the direction they're taking that content as well.
So there's something else that is brand new for the whole franchise, right? And it's something that people have wanted for a long time, and that is the opportunity to actually play as a ghoul.
Yeah, so coming in early 2025, players will finally be able to play as a ghoul, which is pretty massive for the Fallout games in general. So in 76, it's unlocked at level 50, and you will be presented with a quest, and should you proceed through that quest, one of the ways to complete it will result in your ghoulification. So players can opt to remain human or go through certain steps and become a ghoul, which is a nice way of introducing it. I think if it was just there's now a new ghoul class or a new ghoul type of player that you could just create, that wouldn't work so well. But the fact that you could choose to go and irradiate yourself or ghoulify yourself is really, really cool. There was a lot of people that were really excited about it in the room when they announced that, a lot of Fallout fans, because like I said, this is something people have wanted to try and toy with for a good while. But what I'm most interested in is how it's going to change the game, because they were saying that becoming a ghoul will have its own advantages, its own disadvantages, it comes with its own perks. One of the examples was that you're no longer affected by radiation, or not so heavily impacted by radiation. So certain playstyles in 76 that revolved around, getting into power armor, protecting yourself from radiation, it might now be a benefit for your ghoul self to be irradiated, get perks, like damage resistance the more radiation you have, for example. So it seems like it could provide players a lot more choice in how they build their character, and higher level players a lot more choice in that sort of end game. They were very cagey about ghoul details. Like, one of the other elements that they teased was that the world in itself will respond to you differently. They didn't want to share any more than that, but Fallout fans could probably assume factions like the Brotherhood of Steel might not be as welcoming. They didn't share too much, but it's nice to know that the world will respond to you being a ghoul. And now that there are more ghoul characters coming with Vault 63, that will again be interesting to see what's available, all the potential gameplay and story when conversing with ghouls as a ghoul.
To be fair, you can imagine a world where they introduce this in a much less developed manner, it feels like, right? So, it sounds like they're really thinking about how being a ghoul would change the way you interact with this world and all of its mechanics, which is that's refreshing to see, I suppose, when it could have essentially been like a glorified mod.
But what I'm most interested in is how this affects Fallout in general going forward, because I was asking the developers about this. I said, it's not as if you can then go backwards. Like, I was saying, do you feel like you're setting up a precedent for Fallout games in the future? Because, like I said, if you get a taste of playing as a ghoul in Fallout 76, the next time a Fallout game comes out, it's going to be a little odd if you can suddenly not play as a ghoul. So maybe they're using 76 as sort of a test bed. Like, how do they create a world in which a player can, harness that role? I'm hoping this is a sign going forward there will be that option in Fallout games in the future, because, like I said, it's not as if you can put that back in the bottle and backstep from that. So hopefully once they introduce ghouls, that will be a mainstay for the rest of the series. And I mean, the show, the ghoul character, shows how much people love ghouls, and we've had lots of really interesting quests in Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Yeah, this is something players have wanted for a long time, so I'm hoping 76's step is just the first one in a sort of longer story on how Fallout is able to expand what the player can be.
And obviously the TV show has led to a lot more people going back to Fallout 76 or checking it out for the first time. I know it's been on sale a lot. It's interesting to see now, I think, how Bethesda moves forward with this game. There's no way Bethesda are just going to shut the door on Fallout 76, especially with it being, Fallout becoming this new pop culture behemoth.
Yeah, they said this is the first of many more things to come. They've still got massive plans for the game, and it's interesting because I was up front with the developers and I said, how are you feeling right now? Compared to 2018 when the game came out, it's almost like an entirely new game. I played Fallout 76 day one. Playing it then and playing a few hours of it now, or a few days of it now between different projects, it feels like a completely different game. Maybe this is what the game should have been when it launched, but it's cool to see that it's got such a cemented fan base, and a lot of the new players that came in off the back of the show have stayed. So there's obviously enough there now to keep people coming back. I myself have sort of been converted, and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I will spend a few weeks with Fallout 76, do some quests. I might not be someone that plays it every day religiously. I've sworn off my MMO addictions after spending too much time in RuneScape, so I'm not going to be super dedicated, but the reputation that a lot of people I think still hold on to because of its launch, I'd say, give it a try now. It still might not be for everyone, and it still might not be the most polished thing in the world compared to single player experiences, but it is a really fascinating game. And for Fallout fans especially, it's a Fallout property where you'll find stuff that's not really available anywhere else in Fallout. They sort of experiment with a lot of stuff because they're in this timeline of the early days of the wasteland, so to speak. Going back to play the game, I was like, I've never seen this enemy before. I've never seen this weapon before. I've never thought about this story element before. It's really fertile ground and interesting stuff for Fallout fans. So to anyone that hasn't gone back over the years, 6 years later, I would say it's worth checking out.
Dave, I'm absolutely racking my brain as to what people should do if they want to hear more about Fallout 76 or Skyline Valley.
I would recommend subscribing to this channel right here, GameSpot.com, my friend.